Good evening, London. Allow me first to apologize for
That's the emergency channel!
I do, like many of you, appreciate the comforts of the everyday routine, the security of the familiar, the tranquility, repetition.
Bloody hell.
I enjoy them as much as any bloke. But in the spirit of commemoration,
Who's that, Mum?
whereby those important events of the past, usually associated with someone's death or the end of some awful bloody struggle, are celebrated with a nice holiday, I thought we could mark this November the 5th, a day that is sadly no longer remembered, by taking some time out of our daily lives to sit down and have a little chat. There are, of course, those who do not want us to speak.
Let me think, just let me
I
think.
suspect even now, orders are being shouted into telephones, and men with guns will soon be on their way.
It's Chancellor Sutler.
Damn it!
Why? Because while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. Words offer the means to meaning, and for those who will listen, the enunciation of truth. And the truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there?
You designed it, sir. You wanted it foolproof. You told me every television in London.
Cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression. And where once you had the freedom to object, to think and speak as you saw fit, you now have censors and systems of surveillance coercing your conformity and soliciting
Cameras.
your submission.
We need cameras.
How did this happen? Who's to blame? Well, certainly there are those who are more responsible than others, and they will be held accountable. But again, truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into a mirror. I know why you did it. I know you were afraid. Who wouldn't be? War, terror, disease. There were a myriad of problems which conspired to corrupt your reason and rob you of your common sense. Fear got the best of you, and in your panic you turned to the now High Chancellor Adam Sutler. He promised you order, he promised you peace, and all he demanded in return was your silent, obedient consent.
Inspector, you're almost through.
Last night, I sought to end that silence. Last night, I destroyed the Old Bailey to remind this country of what it has forgotten. More than 400 years ago, a great citizen wished to embed the 5th of November forever in our memory. His hope was to remind the world that fairness, justice, and freedom are more than words. They are perspectives. So if you've seen nothing, if the crimes of this government remain unknown to you, then I would suggest that you allow the 5th of November to pass unmarked. But if you see what I see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek, then I ask you to stand beside me 1 year from tonight, outside the gates of Parliament, and together we shall give them a 5th of November that shall never, ever be forgotten.
Ladies and lads, welcome back to the Thinking Market, where ideas change the world, not the other way around. Happy November 5th. Remember, the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason shall ever be forgot. This gunpowder treason, the idea of changing the world in a specific direction. The world is always changing. It is ideas that change the world. And some people, via the political means, try to impose or force change via force. And others try to use ideas, human action, interpersonal exchange to change the world, to communicate with people, to get people to change their minds, and then people change their actions. One thing we have to be more understanding of is the idea that governments never let a good crisis go to waste. Even if you have gunpowder treason. If you look at the movie V for Vendetta, they tried to use this as a controlled demolition for the Old Bailey, that they wanted to give it a new look. This was a lie. This was all fabricated. The reality is that it was blown up. But in using these crises governments try to create their own ideas, and they try to create their own propaganda. They try to get people to believe these ideas, this propaganda. But before people believe the ideas, a kind of common theme of government ideas are ideas of fear. When people are afraid, they are much more manipulatable. It's a form of kazushi, off-balancing, but it's a psychological kazushi. If I can make someone afraid and simultaneously present them with an informed opinion or perspective about what path they should follow, this is a political formula. This is how you can essentially manage and manipulate entire societies. So we've become afraid. This is part of Etienne Laboete's politics of obedience. His thesis, his idea is that we've become afraid. And when we're afraid, we become more compliant, more submissive. So I guess I just want to encourage people to not be afraid, including myself. So often I'm afraid. Look at COVID. Out of 2020, it became very existential very quickly. Yes, I was manipulated. Yes, I thought I was gonna die. So I did things, I lived my life otherwise than I would have regularly. And perhaps I could have and should have lived my life regularly. And when we observe today that governments are discussing, going to war because they're losing their power. So they want to control society by war. I mean, sparking the cause of nationalism, of collectivism. As Randolph Bourne said, war is the health of the state. And it's a quote that often needs repeating. But yet, I think we should be, or I would encourage people to be anti-war and to see through the fog of war, to not be afraid, to be courageous, to see the truth, try to pursue the truth, find it in your mind first, and then find it in the world. Even at this very moment, there's major ideas that are being discussed, political ideas. Should the US be a democracy? Should it be a monarchy? Perhaps where should it be an oligarchy? And what is it in this natural sense? So people are really changing their ideas about the world and about the makeup of governments. And I like this. I think all topics are open for discussion because that's how you create a wider array of options to choose from. Even with something like AI, people are afraid that AI is going to saturate all of social media, which is a bad thing because then, it'll be crazy. It'll be like you won't know what to trust. But I like that. I like this complete saturation of ideas that are artificial, that you don't know what to trust. Because if you're simple-minded, then yeah, you'll trust anything. But I would say then don't trust anything on social media. Think critically for yourself. Don't believe anything you see or hear. But think for yourself. Determine for yourself what's right, what's wrong. Find the people who are speaking truth and listen to them. And then listen to yourself. So, yeah, in that regard, I am an AI social media accelerationist. I want it flooded. I don't want anyone to have a monopoly on ideas. Let all ideas, flood the market, flood social media, then people will be more skeptical. I think then we'll be more discerning, and that will make us more intelligent as people in a society. And then when it comes to these ideas about governance, there's alternative ideas about governance. Civilization is quite young. We can have new ideas about governing structures. Why do we think, as Fukuyama said, this is the end of history? It's not true. This is just a myth. History continues. It goes on. We're continuing to exist. There's always going to be younger generations, and they will have a different life than the lives people are currently living. And they will have different ideas about how the world should operate. And if we relinquish this opportunity to discuss ideas and governing structures and governance, and in a very social science, philosophical, theoretical manner, discuss how markets for governance, justice, security, money, arbitration, mediation, private property can exist, then we're giving up freedom. This people will say this too when they consider like what freedom is. They'll be like, well, the United States is the most free place in the world. Where else is more free? And like, I don't like this perspective. One, because before the United States exists, there was probably places where they would say, oh, well, this is the most free place. You know, where else on earth is freer than this? And it's like the United States came around, and at its commencement, it had the opportunity to be very free. And in a way, the institutions that have been created and evolved in this country have really handicapped us. You know, the Constitution was created to limit the government, but at the same time, it's been the justification to create the world's largest government. And we're losing freedoms every day. So we don't have the freest country in the world. Tomorrow, a new city is going to pop up, a free market city. It's going to be the freest place on earth. It's going to be the most prosperous. It's going to be the most peaceful. Other people will see what they're doing in the name of like freedom or free market. They're going to want to replicate it. They're going to question their own nation state government system, why they have the current system that we have. And then they're going to opt for the alternative. So what you have to kind of ask is like, are we free because of the government or in spite of the government? Are we free because of the Federal Reserve, because of the military-industrial complex, or is it alternative reasons why we're quote-unquote free? And I would say it's these alternative reasons. Of course, the biggest potential enemy to freedom is the state, the current government system that we have, and it's growing. So then I would like to change it. And then this is where the discussion begins. Is like, okay, so what's the next form of governance we can have in society? Which is a very important discussion. And it's very extensive. What are the institutions, the prerequisites, the foundations for a free society? I mean, this is what we teach at the Menger Institute. So, yes, I'm plugging the Menger Institute. All ages are welcome. Please sign up. Check us out. The link is in the description. If you want to actually discuss these ideas, study these ideas, grapple with these ideas, then yeah, I encourage you to check us out. Because this governance system cannot last. Empires rise and fall. And to understand why empires fall, it's very important to understand economics, the monetary system we have, the fiscal system that we have, the political structures we have, and so you understand the causes for a fall of an empire, and I guess the effects, and how you can mitigate this and stop this. But it begins with ideas. It begins that we discuss these ideas openly and in a manner that's unafraid. So I guess I kind of just want to package this podcast episode as a red pill, if you will, to open your mind, to begin to open your mind to alternative ideas of governance and governing structures. Because democracy has been tried in Athens, it's been tried in the US. I do believe it's a failed experiment. A great book on this is Democracy, the God That Failed by Hans Hermann Hoppe. And with that, I will conclude. Happy 5th of November. Thank you very much.
I was so nervous that when the cashier asked me for my money, I dropped dead. My friend picked it up and handed it to me. She looked at me right in the eyes. Didn't recognize me. I guess whatever you did to me were better than I'd have imagined.
I have a gift for you, Evie, but before I give it to you, I'd like to ask you something. Would you dance with me?
Now, on the eve of your revolution.
Oh, a revolution without dancing is a revolution not worth having.
I'd love to. I don't even know what you really look like.
Evie, please. There is a face beneath this mask, but it's not me. I'm no more that face than I am the muscles beneath it, or the bones beneath them.